With that, the crescendo of the incantation reaches its peak. The tomb, as it were, shakes for the briefest of moments. However, the 5 large sarcophagi do not open. One of the smaller ones does. Awat, you fall forward onto the ground. The very first words you hear are, "What the hell? Why is only that one awake? You said this was going to awaken all of them." As you look up, it is a man in a very fine suit. Sunglasses covering his eyes. He looks refined, probably mid-30s at the very most. His face is somewhat twisted in a snarl almost, as he looks around at the other 3 in the room. Well, explain yourselves.
Look, I'm a doctor, not a miracle worker.
Sometimes minuscule things go wrong. It'll take a little bit of trial and error to figure out what was wrong in the equation this time, but...
Minuscule? Minuscule? We don't have time for minuscule right now. You do know that 75% of the Earth's population is just dead, right?
Yeah, I understand the urgency, but you gotta understand there's only so fast. Reactions can only go so fast.
He kind of looks up.
If it didn't work this time, we'll simply try again.
He kind of looks over at Awat. Well,
what? I just got here. Where is here? When is here?
Where is here? Well, I'm assuming it's the last place that you remember, probably. God, you guys and your memory issues. So, are you at least powerful, or are you just going to be a worthless pawn like these 3? And he makes a hand gesture.
Well, now, I wouldn't say I'm a worthless pawn. I would say I'm a very potent pawn of, those that I serve.
So we didn't even get one of the mummies? You're not a mummy, I'm guessing. An Arisen, whatever the hell you call yourselves.
No, not quite. Wait. Didn't get... And he's going to turn and look at the rest of the room. Why am I the only one up? Do I know anybody here?
When was the last time you were awake?
That's a good question. We'll say 20 years.
Probably the only one you might know is Seth, depending on how long he's been kicking around.
Unlikely, saying that Seth would have been 19 at that time, so...
Fair.
So, no, you don't recognize any of these people.
Okay. So we got a bunch of novices trying to raise my masters, and you did it wrong. Apparently. What'd you do wrong? Tell me exactly what you did.
I would love to hear this, because that's the exact question I was just asking. Maybe you'll get a more straight answer out of them.
Look, mummy revival rituals don't exactly, come in medical textbooks. This is way out of my specialty.
Edmond is gonna pull out like a notepad and literally start reading off every step that they've been following. I don't know how long this is going to take him, and I don't know when he's going to be stopped, but...
At this point, the person in the suit kind of rubs his forehead. Okay, just fix this. Fix this now, or... And he kind of pauses for a moment. I don't know how much longer the world's honestly gonna last, but you won't see the end of it. And he kind of turns on his heel and makes his way out of... The best way to describe it is if somehow you were in a Egyptian pyramid. It is mostly sandstone, limestone. Of course, those that are actually here know you are not in Egypt. It is Washington, D.C. A lot of this was transported as part of an archaeological find. You had some friends with money that helped move certain aspects of the tomb here, specifically to keep in touch with its sacred geometry and the life web being the two most important things in a tomb.
It moved within 20 years?
Probably not.
So yeah, my question of where am I is apt.
Yes.
Okay, so listening to your list there, how many artifacts did you use?
How many artifacts did we use? Well, I mean, obviously, not enough. Maybe the artifacts are the problem. Maybe they just don't have the spark we need.
I mean, because there's five mummies is, a potent force. They kind of need a certain amount of Sekhem to wake up. So my guess is, even if you did all the steps right, you're missing one ingredient. That's life itself, Sekhem.
So the problem's not in the procedure, but the fact we tried to do too much at once.
Too much with too little.
Blame our colleagues here that have been spurring us to action. Perhaps we should have only raised one or two. Right? To start, we could have raised the others later, and
well, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but didn't. So now, what's this I hear about? Everybody dead?
Well, what's the best way to describe it? Everyone's dying.
Yeah.
Marshall.
Great job.
Sickness kind of taking lives by force. Doesn't appear to be a mundane cure.
Marshall, you are somewhat of a trained physician to an extent, are you not?
Yes, I am.
Give me intelligence plus medicine.
Okay then. One moment. Just let me stretch this out more. Oop. And okay, this was not my character sheet. Okay. Here we go. Wait a second. Okay. For a second there, like, for some reason when I clicked one character, I'd get someone completely different, but I worked it out.
One success. What you're able to think of or what you know about this is this disease uses multiple infection methods. You have seen viral, you have seen bacterial. You've heard rumors of other more disturbing types, but you can't substantiate those rumors at this time. There was talk of a bioweapon a few years back that was developed, but never released, so you can't necessarily confirm that. This particular illness has a 100% lethality rate, but is very, very slow. For it to get to lethality, it usually takes it a couple of years. This was first reported cases go back to 2016 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It quickly expanded throughout the entire globe and has slowly been killing off everybody since.
So, all we know of this disease is it spreads through all sorts of vectors. Now, there's a lot of rumors spreading around and not a lot of evidence to back anything up, but this thing is apparently even more deadly than my serum, which is hard to believe.
How long has this been going on?
We're in...
Yeah, what year is it right now?
2030.
2030.
2030, right? So would that be like... And the first case was 2016, right? Just so you can
Yes.
get straight. Okay, so it's been... I'm bad at math. Give me a second. 14 years? Yeah. Things seem to be getting exponentially worse with time. You don't really know how much time we have left until this thing takes over the entire Earth.
Sounds to me like it's almost there already. 75%, I think I overheard. And you're only now trying to wake up my masters?
Look, this was kind of a last-ditch effort, you know? Like, I didn't really expect to rely on stuff like mummies in order to, you know, save the world from a biological disease.
So if there's only 25% of life remaining, that's only 25% of the Sekhem left. That's not a lot. That's we'll have to do some deep searches to find the requisite amount that we need to summon the rest. Any leads so far? Surely you had records still, unless youngins these days don't keep records anymore.
You guys just do your, like, magic hocus pocus that you guys usually do.
I assure you, there's no magic being done. Everything I do is pure hard science. But, does the cult have records of potential leads? Realistically, if they do, I probably don't know them.
The cult hasn't been necessarily keeping records. They have been keeping tabs on things. Unfortunately, any relics you guys have been lost. There have been complications over the last couple of years. Specifically, there seems to be another cult active within the DC area that has been making plays on any relic they have that has come into the area, and they're usually pretty prompt, preempting you guys by days at times. Somehow they seem to be getting fed information much quicker than any of you.
Well, we had some leads. Fortunately, all those trails are quite cold and dead. There's someone else, another group, snatching up everything we get ears on.
Yeah,
So
not
we'll be
exactly.
starting from ground zero here.
We don't really have much in terms of intelligence gathering, so it's been slim picking so far.
Okay. What is this other cult in the area? Any information on them?
Any information on that, Mr. God up there?
None to your knowledge. They are operating exclusively in the shadows.
Unfortunately, sorry.
The only reason you know it's one particular cult rather than another one is due to certain calling cards that they leave. It's always the same symbol, and usually, especially in auctions, whenever you start digging into, oh, this relic was sold by auction, it's always the same name. And it's ISHTA.
This other cult, we assume them to be a cult. They're quite elusive. I will give them that. They don't leave much of a trail. But the only reason we know about them is that they leave a couple common threads, but nothing to follow. To be honest, I don't know why they're leaving these markers behind.
That does seem odd if they want to stay in the shadow, why leave a card?
Maybe they're just all a bunch of show-offs like those vampires.
Wait, there are vampires in the area too?
It's a possibility. I'm not sure of any actual confirmed vampires in the area, but they always worm their way into wherever humans are. If there are people around, you can suspect one of them to be around.
Seth has been quiet for a while. What is Seth making of all of this?
Yes, Seth is just going over ancient transcripts of the ritual as to why it didn't work, because it should have worked. I know there's the theory about Sekhem, but
So you're actually looking in a book? If so, go ahead and give me intelligence plus investigation, I guess would be the accurate one here.
any chance I can use academics?
Academics.
It's for research.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'll do investigation. Here we go. It's not a bad roll.
2 successes. As you're looking through everything, you come to the same conclusion. It had to be a fuel issue, so to speak. The steps were right, the engine was built correctly, there just wasn't enough fuel. Because it did work to an extent. Because Awat is awake there. However, it did not seem to be enough to fuel the others. So, if you were to have a guess, probably 2 very powerful relics should be enough to fill the other tanks. There were none originally used, because generally, while relics can be, destroying relics can be used in the awakening ritual, they're not needed most of the time. Up until, well, you guess now.
Well, it seems that we're at an impasse until we can at least locate some of these somewhat rivals, I suppose is the best word.
Could try hitting my contacts again, but I'm not sure if it would get any results.
I think it's worth trying anything. Otherwise, we're just going to be stuck here having the same conversation with somebody else, not our new acquaintance. Sorry, we never did ask your name.
Oh, yes. I'm surprised it never came up in the records. I'm all white.
Oh, I've seen your name. Welcome back to the world.
Yeah, it's, you said this was 2030? So it's been 20-ish years since I was last here. I expected some change. Changes, it's normal, but this much change is a bit too much. Do you have any records of outside that I could catch up on? That way I can prepare for the rest. You know, do my job, get them up to speed.
Summarize 20 years of history. I'm sure we'll find a way to.
Do you still have the internet?
Is it still running, or?
It's very hard to kill the internet.
I'm just thinking 25% of the population might not be quite as up to date as.
It is still, the majority of major sites are still working. However, if they were small independent servers, you know, like Joe Schmo had his blog website, no, those are probably still not operational. Amazon's still operational. Google is still operational.
Wikipedia.
It's going to take more than a plague to get rid of the real plagues. Sorry. Yeah, there's the records, of course. I hope you like reading confusing viewpoints, because that's all you get in the news these days.
Welcome to history.
Yeah.
But
The rantings will be ill-informed but opinionated.
Yes, well, I've given you mine. What are yours? Who am I working with?
Well, I'm Dr. Kressler, and these are my associates from Seth and my friend. And
I'm
this is Dr. Brown as well, Marshall, and
Not a real
I
doctor.
assure you I have no degree, but you can call me doctor as well.
and if
Wow.
you wish to call him Doctor, then Dr. Howard or Edmond.
3 doctors. Well, I'm just surrounded by intellectuals, and yet you still couldn't do the ritual.
more of a healing type of doctor. these guys are.
I don't have a doctorate in this particular brand of ritual. I do my own work and come, seeking to learn. It's a graduate program, of course. But back to the actual important issue at hand. I can make a few calls with some of my associates, but again, they don't deal with the same things that we need to find.
I could hit up some people I knew from Task Force Valkyrie, but I'm not sure how willing they would be to help. Especially considering what happened.
I think at this point, any option is going to be worth considering.
Well, then I will excuse myself for a phone call and a smoke break.
As Edmond leaves, what does everybody notice? Because your line of work has caused you certain injuries, so to speak.
Well, everyone notices Edmond not exactly moving at the most speedy of paces here. His left leg does not appear to bend at the knee anymore. He limps and hobbles out of this room as he already starts lighting a cigarette.
And who is he calling exactly?
Whoever he knows that is still alive in the Emerald Crucible. I don't know what information an order of alchemists can provide searching for Sekhem relics, but given the similarities between Pyros and Sekhem, there might be a lead.
Most of your associates that are still around, which is a very low number, they give you a number. They're just like, he doesn't deal necessarily with the relics that you probably are dealing with, knowing your chosen course, as foolhardy as it may be. However, he is a collector of sorts. The number they give you is only attached with a title, not a name. The Professor.
Well, I will reassure them that my chosen course is just as valid, and that there is knowledge to be obtained in all places, that I have not shied away from our teachings.
Marshall, are you going to make your calls?
Mm-hmm. So, I'll probably hit all the informats that I used to, go to whenever I was, hunting. To see if there's any rumors about objects of magical power, or whether anyone has heard about those calling cards and had answers.
All right. Do you actually have contacts or allies? I forget.
I have contacts.
Contacts. Okay. The few remaining members of Task Force Valkyrie, unfortunately, certain things happened in 2025 and 2026. they've taken significant losses, as in 90% of their workforce, I use the term workforce loosely here, has been completely obliterated. Insurgents had corrupted a good portion of them, and then certain projects were released and destroyed a number upon their escape. The few that are able to respond, they do actually have some information regarding relics. It seems whatever is going on is all going to come to a head probably within the next couple of months. So they've been preparing. However, some of the dealings they have are with private collectors. So these private collectors are constantly flying things in. This particular private collector is based in Philadelphia. They had just recently bought it at an auction. Very much overpaid for it, according to what the informant says. But beyond that, they can't tell you if it's necessarily something that is useful to you. It just is an object of certain power, or supposedly, and it was moved to a location in Philadelphia. Seth, is there any information you want to try to gather, or do you have other methods?
I'm thinking of essentially going back to the source and seeing what we can potentially get from archaeological digs, that kind of looking at those kind of regions of what we might be able to uncover. It's a long shot gambit, but
all right.
at least and I'll accompany. I'll wait. So reintroduce him to society as it has collapsed.
So, having obtained your information, both Edmond and Marshall, do you relay this information to the others as they proceed to make their way past you, as Seth gets ready to reintroduce Awat to what remains of the world?
I'll probably share mine. So, I've got a solid maybe in Philadelphia. Something about a private collector. He brought in some object of power. I don't really know if it's Sekhem, but it might be what we're looking for.
I dug up much the same. Some kind of elusive collector. I don't know where he's based. I don't know if it's a he. I only have a title. Don't have a name. I got a phone number, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah. I have a number, a phone number, and a title. Allegedly, he is a collector of occult things. Whether or not he has anything we want, and whether or not he'll be willing to barter with anything is unknown, but it can't hurt to give him a call.
Private collections are a good place to start. They seem to be drawn to that type of thing. As for which one you're gonna go for first, I don't know which one's closer.
Well, I mean, a phone call is closer than Philadelphia, and we can go from there. It might be the same person. I don't know. I can't imagine there's that many collectors running around anymore. At least in the public eye. But I leave you to your education, and I'll be making a few more calls.
With that, Awad and Seth, as you make your way out of the tomb, you exit into what appears to be a closed museum. This seems to be part of an exhibit of some sort as you walk out into it. However, unlike what most people would consider alarming, the few security guards that are around notice you. They give you a subtle nod. As you, Seth, you are more aware of them than Awa would be. 20-year time gap. These are also members of the cult. Everybody that works at this museum is a cultist. So everybody knows what goes on in there, and they make sure that nobody else does. But they give you a subtle nod like, go about your business. We understand.
Planning and, well, an expansion to get our people in here and taking care of things, but here we are. I suppose that they are all to thank for bringing you back to the mortal realm.
Well, I suppose I should be thankful for that at least. So everyone here is in on with the group?
As far as I know, I've yet to meet anyone that wasn't.
That's clever, hiding in plain sight. I'll give you that.
As you make...
Well, it seems necessary, and to be honest, what better place to hide than where people expect to see it? So, during the day, it's open to visitors, and after hours, it's ours to do with as we please.
As you make your way through the museum, it's dark, unlit, but it doesn't take Seth very long to guide you to the exit, opening up to DC proper. Now, you've been to DC before, Alwat. Whether or not this is where the tomb was originally located, you've been here before. You're very well aware of the nation's capital.
Mm.
It is, for lack of better wording here, desolate. Any, like, bodega type stores, you see them boarded up. You see any sort of traffic, non-existent. Street lights mostly are in somewhat disrepair. Most of them are flashing. They work as stop signs, but, you know, there's no timer on them anymore. It looks like most yard work and gardening has been just left to nature to decide. It's a brisk morning. You do see what looks to be the remains of snow here and there.
I'm sorry, it's probably not the world you expected to come back to.
It's a little bit empty, yes. I've been to DC before, and it's always been a crowd of people everywhere, all the time. And to see it so dead it's a little disheartening.
I know the feeling, and I'm sorry you had to say it this way. I can only imagine it must be something of a shock. To be honest, it's something you see when it passes you by over time. You somewhat become desensitized to it. I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah, when you're sleeping, away from the world for decades at a time, sometimes the difference is minuscule between times. Sometimes the difference is great. But to live through something like this, such a stark contrast to what this place was like 20 years ago, that's not gradual. 20 years and most of the world is dead. That's not gradual in my mind. That is stark difference.
It's been with us for 14 years. It's a slow process to get to it like this, but it was the initial cases. We of course ignored them. It wasn't until it was too late that we realized that this was it.
So, Edmond, you're making a phone call, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna call the number, see if anyone picks up.
An Irish accent picks up the line. Can I inquire who is calling? And in regards to what? Not many people call these days.
Well, we'll be polite. The name is Edmond Howard. I am a scholar of sorts. And we are working on a project requiring artifacts. And I hear you're a man with artifacts in your possession.
I wouldn't necessarily call them in my possession, but you are not misinformed. I do a great deal of traveling. I have come across certain things. My children have also come across certain artifacts. They had a run-in with a particular private collector of sorts that had several items of interest. I have retrieved them, and depending on who contacts me, I may, return them to their proper owners, because to the best of my knowledge, they were essentially stolen from cold, lifeless bodies.
Well, I don't suppose you'd be open to cooperation. This task that I mentioned, requiring these particular artifacts, it was given to us by a much larger group. I am unsure if you are aware of them. Does the organization of Zero Hour ring any bells?
Yes, it actually does. A couple of my children are part of the organization. Or maybe part is a strong word. They assist in various tasks, and have been for the last year.
So we are in some ways potential allies. Well, I must admit I am still somewhat of an outsider. I understand what we're looking for, to the best of my knowledge, but I'm not sure how I would describe what we're looking for over a phone.
Nor would I be able to tell you what exactly I have and if it's even of use to you. So, what I can do is... He kind of pauses. I will get in touch with your organization and set up a travel destination. I just need a location as to where I am shuffling off to, so to speak.
Well, at the moment we are based in DC, in the, well, I was going to say grand United States of America, but you see the streets, we're not so grand anymore, are we?
The streets of Ireland are much the same, I can assure you.
But I'm sure they will come up with a far better drop-off point, or a meeting grounds. I will not go into incredible detail about our exact, location. Not really my place to give away information. I'm but a member here.
I have contacts in your organization, do not worry. Just... I will contact them and we will let the superiors figure it out, I suppose.
As if High Command has ever done anything quickly.
Well, to be fair, High Command is also dealing with the same personnel shortages as everybody else is.
You'd think that'd make it run quicker. Less bureaucracy, but...
Many hands make a load light.
Too many hands drop it constantly. That's what I found in my years of service, but suppose it's different. Different groups.
Once I arrive, I will discuss payment with you, but until then, as stated, we'll let the organization set up a meeting. It will take time, as stated. I am in Ireland.
Yeah. Perhaps you will be in contact again. I wish you the best. I will push a message up.
And the line goes dead at this point. Marshall.
Howdy.
What is Marshall doing?
So, while everyone else is doing their stuff, I'll probably maybe I'll check in with my clinic. Since the whole cult thing sounded kind of like a side thing, I guess. Doesn't really make a whole lot of money. I'll see if I can find anything there too. Because I do have like a lot of hands in a lot of different pies with the clinic. I like serve a lot of different supernatural groups. People who want their business kind of secret.
Even the supernatural element has been feeling the effects. Most of your patients in this it's a back alley clinic, pretty much, correct?
Yeah.
Are supernaturals that are going to die and those that are dying. Most of them are vampires, starving, going into torpor because lack of blood, which makes you an appetizing thing, which is why you're not necessarily maybe there all the time. There's werewolves that are having their regeneration stunted, which, especially for older werewolves, causes rapid aging. Currently, there's one dying of that. It's come down to the point of any form of death that is weird and freaky, you've honestly seen it at this point. Your personnel, those that aren't sick, are completely covered head to toe in PPE gear as much as they can. The ones that have already contracted the contagion, they go without PPE. They know their time is, ticking down, so to speak.
So, do I notice anything that needs my attention, or am I just free to wander the clinic?
You are, right now, your personnel does have most things handled. So you don't need to worry about too much. There are certain fringe cases that obviously could use a more skilled hand. So if you wish to assist with those procedures, that is fine. However, to assist in those procedures, even with full PPE, I am going to actually require a stamina roll for any such performance.
Alright, let me see. And just to be sure, is there anyone in the clinic right now of particular influence, or?
Influence in what manner?
Just a lot of pull and information, I guess. Someone I know. I don't want. Okay, so someone who, can do me some favors.
Most of the
they have a lot
patients.
of resources. That sort of thing.
Some of the patients may have a lot of resources. However, given their current state, they're not in a position to be able to pull strings at this point. While your clinic at one time dealt with mostly injuries caused, let's say, by hunters or hunters sustaining injuries, 99% of your cases now are just, for lack of a better phrase here, hospice care due to the contagion.
I see. Then I guess I'll just try to treat the people who are not gonna die tomorrow, but are still under threat.
All right, go ahead and give me a medicine plus intelligence roll again, and afterwards give me a stamina roll.
Let me.
Exceptional success. Please take the inspired condition medicine.
Whoa, that is incredible.
Nice.
And then it's the stamina what roll?
Just pure stamina.
Oof, that's rough. Oh, oops, not medicine. But
The first two dice you rolled, one of them was a 9 anyways, though.
yeah, so 9, 1 success.
Okay. You are able to ease this person's suffering. They're able to get... This person seems to have been a hunter at some time. They are completely human, at least as far as you're concerned. Whether or not they may have other abilities, not your concern. This person is able to breathe again, and they're just like, you're an angel, Marshall. You really are an angel in these times.
Hey, no problem, man. Honestly, though, if it was any other time, you might have been one of the people I was hunting. I say it in like a sort of joking manner.
I don't know anything about that, honestly. I just... this were... And he just kind of pauses and shakes his head. It really does feel like the end, doesn't it?
Don't worry. I've been trying to find a way to avoid all this. But so far it's been rough going.
I mean, all of us, to some extent, have been trying to find a way to end it. And almost punctuating his sentence there, you hear what sounds like snarling. The guy looks kind of alarmingly down the hallway. You're quite familiar with this sound at this point. This is a vampire that has frenzied. You begin to hear shrieking as this thing obviously is probably lunging at people and attempting to take blood by any means.
Now I forget, but does anesthesia work on vampires, or is it
No.
useless?
Anesthesia does not work.
It was worth a shot. Alright, so
I hear there's the new brand of wooden anesthesia. Apply directly to the heart.
It's a commercial.
You need an exceptional success.
So I'm assuming I'm in my medical gear, not in like protective protective gear.
No, you're in PPE.
Yeah, okay. So I'll just grab a scalpel and I'll just head into the room to see if I can, put down the vampire before anyone gets hurt.
Unfortunately, that isn't a non-option as you walk into the room. The particular person that seems to be in trouble is one of your workers. They are outside of PPE, so that generally would mean that they have the contagion. However, this vampire has decided its dirty blood is better than no blood and has completely wrapped his arms and legs around your worker and is literally draining them completely dry. You can see the color leaving them.
I just silently approach the vampire and I try to sneak up on them, and then
Dexterity plus stealth,
yes,
and I will give them a roll. It is going to be -2 because they are very much distracted, so its ears seem to perk, its eyes open slightly, but it doesn't actually ever notice you as it closes its eyes again and continues to drink deeply. It's at this point that the person that it's latched onto no longer has enough blood in their body to keep standing and crumples to the ground, vampire with it as he continues to drink. You have just finished listening to this week's episode of Mummy the Curse 2nd Edition Final Hours, part of the Domain Gaming's Contagion anthology, written and told by Wyverian. A special thanks to you, the listener. And if you wish to continue supporting us, subscribe, like, and share. As always, comments are welcome. Until the next chapter, don't stop asking yourself, in the fading memories of this dying world, can we discover a way to survive?